Welcome, everyone. We're so glad you're here to participate in Ann's Heart Women's Shelter online auction. And we're here to tell you a little bit about Ann's Heart Women's Shelter. I'm June Fothergill, and I'm one of the founders of this group, and excited to let you know about what we've been doing and what we plan to do and our hopes and dreams. So now I'd like to invite one of our board members, Nanie Koerber, to share her story.
Well, greetings. I was a homeless teen that got myself through high school. I was homeless all the way through high school, but actually I realized that homelessness for me didn't really start in high school. It started with living with a mother who chronically was underhoused. And it's many of our homeless people start with, it doesn't just happen one day, it's a process. And I'm going to ask whoever's watching this, if you see a homeless person, don't judge. You don't know their story. You don't know what they went through to get there. And I know when I was homeless for the 3 years of high school, and I actually graduated after 3 years, there were many neighbors and friends that I made where they didn't necessarily want their kids hanging out with me because they didn't know what was going on with me. Because I was on and off of the street often, they figured I was on drugs. And when they got to know me, they realized that that wasn't necessarily the case. And I'll share with you one story about my best friend, Nadine, in high school. I would go over to her house and her mother would say, you can't go to the baseball game. You can't go to the things you want to do with Nancy until your room is clean and the kitchen is clean. And Nadine would throw a fit and I'd say, Nadine, let's just do it. And then go have some fun. And Nadine's mom realized that I was a great influence on Nadine. And I looked at Nadine one day and her mother heard me say, Nadine, if I could have this bedroom, I would clean it every day. And you need to be grateful. So when you get to know a lot of our homeless neighbors and you understand their story and a little bit about them, you'll realize it may not be what you think. And many of these people have dreams and hopes and had dreams and hopes just like the rest of us. My sister, unfortunately, who was 11 months older than me, didn't take the path I did because it was too hard. It was too hard to survive on the streets. When I was on the streets and people think you're lazy, it's a lot of work to stay alive on the streets and get food every day and find a place to sleep. You know, was I going to sleep under a park bench today or under a log truck? And I remember the time I rolled under a log truck one night because it was raining and the darn log truck started up at 4:30 in the morning. And I had to spin out from underneath that thing and go find another place to be. You don't realize how hard it is. And the reason I was able to get off the streets is because people believed in me and helped me. There were people I never knew. There were organizations that reached out and put money on me to help pay for my schooling, to go to college, and helped me in a number of ways. It wasn't a lot of money, but I worked and I just kept going. I got through high school, then college, and went on with my life. And the reason I'm involved with Ann's Heart is because they believe in the women on the streets. Give them a hand up and many of them will improve their lives. It's really hard to get off the streets without help today. And so we got 9 women off the streets last year, and that's only a handful of people, but there's more to come. I'm gonna invite all of you who are watching this video, reach out and say, how can I help? How can I give? How can I be part of the solution? So thank you so much, Pastor June, for all you do and the opportunity to serve with you.
And I want to start with Susie sharing some of why it's important to her.
Hi, I'm Susie. Susie Hukari. I grew up in Germany in a wonderful, cozy home where all my needs were met. So the love for the stranger flourished early in my life. Growing up there, the safety net wasn't as good as it is now, and poor people walked from door to try to get some help. And my mother demonstrated Jesus's greatest commandment by feeding them and giving them clothing if needed. Later on, everywhere I lived, I usually found places in my surroundings, neighborhoods, where I could serve people in need. We even had them live with us. We fostered a lot of children. I have lived now in Springfield for 15 years, and I have noticed the increase and growing needs for food and shelter of my unhoused neighbors. Finding the amazing ministry that has been going out of Ebert Memorial United Methodist Church has opened my eyes to new ways of serving. In 2020, Pastor June asked me to join Anne's Heart, the board. In 2021, we worked with Carry It Forward, and we were able to get 9 women off the streets in Springfield. Most of them are in housing with support services to continue to help them to be self-sufficient.
Thank you, Susie. And Lynn Shitty has a story about why we call it Anne's Heart.
My name is Lynn Schutte, and I grew up in a small farming town in California, and it was the perfect childhood. I was able to go outside whenever I wanted to and play for as long as I wanted to in the apricot orchards and in the surrounding fields. And all of a sudden, things changed. And we didn't know it at the time, but my mom was suffering from mental illness. And it wasn't long before my parents divorced, and then we lost the farm and we had to move. And I didn't know where we were going. I mean, we were essentially homeless. And if it hadn't have been for the love and grace of my older sister, Joan, I would not have had a place to live. I would be bouncing around in a car, probably with my mom. Now, my mom was able to go and get odd jobs as a housekeeper and this sort of thing, but she pretty much had given up being a parent to me. So fortunately, my sister filled the void. And for me, it was a life-saving, life-changing experience. Anne and I were good friends. Anne started out in the Midwest, where she married her husband, Wayne, and she was a labor and delivery nurse for years. They moved to California, and she continued her nursing practice in California. And then they moved north to Oregon. And it was after they moved to Oregon that I met Anne at our church, Ebert United Methodist Church. Anne at that time was working for the county as a psychiatric nurse. And she and I shared a love for growing spiritually. So we joined a prayer group that studied weekly. We also journeyed together with our struggles with breast cancer. Anne's heart was huge. She was the one who made the biggest meatloaf you'd ever see for Wednesday night dinners. It became famous. After she helped serve the meatloaf, she would go out into the dining area and sit with the folks and just hear their stories, not me. I would retreat into the kitchen and be very busy. I'm sure there's a Bible story about the one woman who does that and the other woman who does the other thing. I don't remember their names. Anyway, she had a heart. She had a purpose. She joined me the one night when we protested against another bar opening on Main Street in Springfield. And she had quite a theatrical flair also, because we decided we were going to serenade the council with that, the We're Coming, our bright little band, Salvation Army drinking song, or prohibition song. And we did. And you should have seen the jaws drop, but that bar did not get approval. Anne had heart, Anne had compassion, Anne had purpose. And I hope you feel it in your heart to support our purpose and our mission with Anne's heart.
Thank you, Lynn, for sharing about Anne and Elliott. I want to share just a little bit about how we started Anne's Heart. Like we said, it grew out of our experiences at the meals at Ebert. When you sit down and eat with people every week, you do get to know each other sometimes a little bit. And we heard some of the concerns and the anguish of women who were living on the streets. And that moved me anyway, and the rest of us to say, we should do something about this more than just providing food. So we started to form Anne's Heart Women's Shelter and been working ever since 2016 to try to have enough funds to have a house and staff that would help women to recover from the trauma of being unhoused and move forward in their lives in ways that they would like to move forward. This program is based upon listening to the women who have been on the streets, who are on the streets, and what they need and what they would like to see in a transitional shelter to help them. So we spend a lot of time, especially at the beginning and even now, listening to stories, listening to needs, and also trying to understand what's currently being offered or not offered in the community. So we're a listening ear as well as a big heart in Anne's Heart Women's Shelter. Now I'd like to invite Jessica to share some of the reasons why she's involved.
Hi everyone, I'm Jessica Duff, and like Susie, I joined the board here during the pandemic in early 2020. I had met with the Springfield Shelter Rights Alliance and Anne's Heart as an intern with a background in human geography, and I have extensive work in different nonprofit organizations. As I listened to the visions and the goals of everyone present, I realized that everyone was coming together to try to work for solutions for the needs of our community. And the biggest thing that stood out for me was how they talked and treated our neighbors that are unhoused, and how everyone wanted to partner together to be more effective and work together as a team to support our unhoused community. And that made me feel like this is and for women with Anne's Heart, this made me feel like this is exactly where the organization that I wanted to be a part of. I feel as if all of the different organizations, we've shared a vision and a goal of working to find solutions in our community, and being effective and working together as a team and coming alongside people, as June had shared, that what actually is effective for people, not just what I think as somebody who hasn't been unhoused, but what do people really need, and partnering together with them. And as a team, we all have different strengths, and we're stronger when we come together. We all have a passion to care and support unhoused women in our community, and that's part of our piece of this partnership. And we bring different skills to this. But when years ago, for me personally, I was working and traveling as a single woman overseas, and I experienced on a much smaller scale what it means to get sick and alone and be without a support system in place. And in that unexpected illness, it led to chronic health issues. And I have been privileged enough to have a family that has stuck by me, that has helped me through things like negotiating healthcare, day-to-day management of complex treatments. And when I was in too much pain, they were able to advocate for me, help with paperwork, provide support and care I needed. Now imagine going through all of that trauma, continued trauma, and having no one, nothing. There are many barriers and setbacks that can make it seem like there's no hope. And worse, that no one cares. Or that they see your pain, sneer at your pain and the chaos that your life has been in. And being unhoused or unprotected and without a safe place, on top of the trauma and stress of being homeless, means you're more likely to experience things like domestic violence or repeated sexual and physical assault. And without that support system in place, that just adds to the barriers to making something which could have been a, a short-term experience or a traumatic episode becoming a chronic issue and something that is really hard to get out of. And our goals is to come along and partner and to help provide that support system for women who there are many different ways that reasons why people are in those positions, but I know from my own experience what it's like and how much help I had needed, and I got that. And so we're here, and I'm here because I want to extend what I can for my little part of being that support system for other people.
Thank you, Jessica. We really appreciate everyone on our board and all the work everybody does.
Right.
Susie has a last word to share with us about our vision for Anne's Heart.
So why do we actually need to raise funds? I just had to dig a little deeper in my personal life, thinking about it, since I told you before about having such a wonderful childhood and having everything. And like Jessica just mentioned, is the support system that you have with your family is just unimaginable to think women don't have that. And I also think about the horrible predicament you must feel when you lose a home, or even you're cast out by your family because of certain reasons. When you wake up, you don't have a safe bathroom to go to, especially when you go through your menstruation. You can't wash your hands or do any kind of hygiene rituals. Your clothes feel dirty and smelly, and you have no place to lay your head. These are things that go through my head daily, and I pray for safety for these people, especially for the women. But I also saw the need in my heart of doing something. That's why I joined the board, so that I can tell other people of that need. But the main reason we are wanting to raise huge funds is that with your help and investment, we could find a great big place, a house or rehab for Anne's Heart's Women's Shelter in Springfield. We could see a place to call home for some and a walk-in oasis for many. We would like to see a place of comfort and warmth for unhoused women to call home. We would like to have a laundry room and showers where maybe women still on the street could also come to. A clothing closet with a changing room would be ideal. Maybe once or twice a month we could hire a beautician to cut hair and do nails to give unhoused women their humanness and dignity back. And once we have our 4 own walls, we can rise to the next step and add case management services and find ways to stabilize their life and be advocates by finding options for their future through either schooling, apprenticeships, or job programs, and maybe their own place to live. Again, this dream could be brought into fulfillment with your help and your donations. That is why we're having this auction this weekend and other fundraisers to come in spring. Remember, as we emerge from these last 2 years of COVID-19, it has been a crisis that has disproportionately affected persons experiencing poverty and homelessness, and will have lasting effects on this population in the years to come. That's why we ask you to support all efforts to establish Anne's Heart Women's Shelter here in Springfield. And this weekend will be a great opportunity for you to give and even get something back. We're glad you joined our auction. Thank you.
Yay.